and today I'm here with Miss Stormy Bishop. Stormy.
Hey, nice to meet you. Good to be here.
You are an advocate.
Yes.
For cannabis.
Yes, absolutely.
For medical cannabis.
Yes.
So, what made you decide to pioneer this legislation for change?
Well, it started, I just joined Alabama Ramp the beginning of the year.
For people that don't know who those folks are, can you explain that group?
Yes, we're Republicans against marijuana prohibition. We are lobbying, we are a grassroots organization, we're a bipartisan group, and we're grassroots. We have, different groups in Alabama where we can connect with different people in different areas, and we get together and do events and educate people on the benefits of cannabis.
What do you consider to be the benefits of cannabis?
Oh God, I could write a book.
Yeah, me too.
Well, for me, it would be for anxiety, for stress, a lot of mental relaxing, because I'm a very high-strung person. But as I become an advocate, I started learning that people were finding relief in other ways. And when I started seeing that, I started feeling a little selfish for myself, because I was like, there's people out there suffering and they're dying. And we have this stigma in this state behind a plant, the devil's lettuce, or the words that they've given this plant that is a plant. I mean, if you look at it, it is a plant, and there's no processing that goes into that. I mean, you can literally take it as the green plant and you can juice it, which has no psychoactive effects whatsoever. Lots of vitamins and minerals. It's everything that you need in that plant. And they make it, if you grow a plant, your child's going to go pick this and they're going to get high and they're going to lose their minds. But they don't know that if they consume that plant, it's not going to do anything but be nutrients to their body. So I watched videos on people with Parkinson's find instant relief. And I started meeting the people in our group, and I was like, this is what I want to advocate for, because I saw people finding pain relief, seizures, Parkinson's, any kind of mental issues, PTSD. I mean, veterans have been finding relief. And there was a guy who really just blew my mind, and he has Parkinson's, and he would show videos of himself and how he would shake, and he has a dog that's a service dog, and he's very young. And when he gets to shaking, that dog will lay on him. And he shows his results after consuming cannabis. And it is mind-blowing. And it angers me that we live in a society that thinks that that is wrong, but we can take pharmaceutical pills, which I was an abuser of those, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But someone who consumes cannabis, they're low-lifes, or they just want to get high, they're stoners, they're worthless. And I just want to change the image of that. That's what RAMP is doing, trying to change the image of marijuana into it's beneficial, it's therapeutic. I mean, there's no recreational or medical. It has therapeutic value, and I think for everyone.
Well, I would think that the people I see that are judging this plant and causing a lot of the I guess, trouble with trying to get this available to people who need it are religious people.
Yes.
And what they need to get in their mind is, their God created this plant to help, aid, assist you in better health, in better wellness. God did not create those drugs and those pills that you're popping.
Absolutely.
And your body doesn't know how to process those pills. They build up toxins in your liver, and they destroy your health with the side effects and the toxicity that becomes in your body. But, God made this little plant for you to fix those things that you need help with. It's not a sin to use something that your God created to help you.
And we have an endocannabinoid, I can't even get the word out, cannabinoid system.
Right.
Animals and humans both have that system. And why would we have that? And why would a plant be growing if it wasn't for us? God said He created the herbs and the plants of the earth for us to have as medicine and food. And I mean, we are really cutting ourselves short by not allowing it.
Well, you know, people who disagree with that, they need to check themselves.
Well, you say the Christian community, and I will say this. I am part of a ministry. And so I've been a Christian for over 10 years. I've been part of the church. The church, you know, had some issues with it. And that is who I tend to focus on more. Because my thing is I'm sure that their cabinets are full of pills.
Right.
And to me, if you believe in God and if you pray to God, why would you go to a doctor first before natural?
Right.
6 years ago, I took in my hands my own health. And I started taking care of my life, my children's lives. I started filling our bodies with healthy food, natural medicine. And we've been more healthy than we've been our whole lives. When we stayed in the doctors, we stayed sick.
Right. Which leads me to ask the question, you have a lot of around 6 year stuff that you made some very big major changes in your life. What happened 6 years ago that made you do all these changes?
Well, I'm bipolar and I have PTSD from abuse. And 6 years ago, I was having one of my bad bipolar spells, having one of my really lows. And when I get in that state, at that time, it was before I started getting healthier and learning my triggers and different things, I was not speaking to anybody. I wasn't talking to anyone. I was talking to my mom. I wasn't talking to my friends. I had pretty much isolated myself. And I was in a very dark place. I mean, so dark. I literally thought about killing myself daily. I would drive down the road, would think about riding off bridges. I thought my life had no worth. And that's all I dreamed about. That's all I thought about. And I was living in this tiny little trailer. I had lost a business. I had a lot going on at the time. And so I didn't know what to do. And my friend, she reached out to me. She said, you need to try some oils. You know, you really need to try some healthy stuff. You need to stop going to the doctor, stop trying all these pills, because I had been a guinea pig for the pharmaceutical companies for quite some time. And I mean, I went to the point of fighting my husband. It got so bad on the pills. So I didn't want to do that anymore. And she was like, you really need to try to put these oils on your feet and your toes and you just rub them on your hand. I'm like, you've lost your mind. You've literally lost your mind. And so after I started researching and started looking into things, I started looking into vaccines, I started looking into everything, research. And, you know, people call me conspiracy theorist, all those sort of things. But, you know, I'm just thinking about my family. You know, I've been putting this stuff in my family's bodies. I've been washing my clothes in this. I've been using these candles. I've been putting all this poison. And with cancer, like #1 killer in America, I was like, I can't do this. Like, something has to change. And then I started learning about metal toxicity in the brain. And I was like, might be a lot of my mental problems why I have these mental issues. So I went down a health journey and drug my poor family along. And my poor husband, bless his heart, he's a diabetic. And I wouldn't take my kids to the doctor. I said, we're going to use these oils first. And in the beginning, he was like, no, you're going to take them to the doctor. I said, if these oils don't work, then we're going to take them to the doctor.
Last resort.
And after we started healing at home with diet and just using all natural methods, he was like, you know, you're on to something. And so he really started paying attention to me, and now he won't even argue with me. But, you know, like earlier he was messing me, what do I need to use for heartburn? But that's where it all started. And that's why I know that marijuana is not a drug, because I've been on drugs. I've been there. I've been on both sides of the fence. And to me, marijuana is all natural. It's a plant. I can toss a seed into the ground. It will grow, and I'll have a product. You know, I won't have to go do anything else to it.
Right.
So, anyway.
So what have you found, you know, in your research and what you have educated yourself with, you know, for people out there that are struggling with anxiety, depression, you know, with the issues that so many of us have today, what have you found that was the most beneficial about cannabis?
Just relaxing, just to be able to, just to relax, just to be able to calm the brain and be able to, because my brain is always on full. I mean, I'm constantly going. I can never sit down and rest. And it would give my brain some rest. It would give me, just a way to decompress, a way, because the pills that I took that would bring me down out of my anxiety would make me sleepy. Right. And I couldn't function. And because of those pills I had abused in the past, I started abusing them. And so I can't even go the medicine route. I cannot do that because I could lose my family.
Right. Because I have noticed with my own experience that the pharmaceuticals that they give you for anxiety and depression a lot of times have such awesome side effects. They turn you into a zombie and you feel nothing.
Yep.
Or they make you homicidal and raging, or there's nothing that works correctly.
Yep.
And I have found my own personal self, because I have fibromyalgia and some chronic pain issues that, there are days that I can't get up and function because the pain level is so terrible that I can't move. All I can do is just lay there and cry. Cannabis has given me back functionality and a life when I have those bouts that I need some help. And that's why we try to advocate for cannabis wellness and people to get educated to find out the benefits. I mean, it benefits autism.
Yes.
I mean,
because
seizures.
it's calming. It's calming to the brain.
Right.
And who doesn't need calming?
Everybody.
Every
does.
mama I know needs calming. I mean,
Yes.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a homeschool mom, and I deal with homeschool mamas, and every single one of those mamas need cannabis.
Oh, absolutely. Either that or something. So tell me, what led you? You have told that you have had some substance abuse issues in the past, pill popping, prescription stuff that some doctor flogged on you to make you feel better.
Yes.
What led you to that? What in your life created that need for that to begin with?
Well, at 14, my mom and daddy started going through a divorce. And so my mama got a divorce from my daddy. I didn't want to live with my daddy because my daddy had rules. Well, my mama didn't have rules. So I wanted to be with my mama. Well, we ended up living in a car. We lived in several different places, home to home. I lived with friends. I started off, doing pills. So where to start off? In school. I'd have people handing me out pills throughout school. I didn't know what they were half the time. I'd just take them. And so I started off on pills pretty much. So I got a boyfriend, and I moved in with him. He was 21 at the time, and I was 15, just turned 15. And he and I got in an argument, and his mama had gotten real close to me. He was living with his mama. So his mama got real close to me. So when we got in an argument, she's like, you got to go, him, and kept me. I was 15. Well, she was on drugs. She was on crystal meth. Her husband was on, he's a truck driver. And I became her buddy. So we started doing drugs together, and we had fun. She had a son, he was like 7. And we'd go have fun. We'd go to, ballparks and, amusement parks. We was having a good time, So I started doing it then, and I met our drug dealer. And her husband was on the road most of the time. So she didn't have him, so it was just me and her son, her youngest son. So we were going to go hang out at the drug dealer's house for the weekend. He was 19 years older than I was. And I took a liking to him. I was 15. Well, I ended up moving in with him. And we started cooking meth. Well, I moved in here with him, I think it was around September, and within a month, he was already beating me. My first beating was with an isolating fan. And he beat me with that fan until it busted to pieces. There was nothing left of the fan. He was Halloween. His kids, he had kids, and they had come in for Halloween, and I was just trying to hide everything, you know. Didn't know what had happened. And I always said I was never going to be abused because my mother was abused. My mother had a horrible life. But she had an abuser, and the police would take her right back to her abuser. And I said, I'll never be abused. Ever, ever, ever. I'll never be abused. I will fight. And I did. I got abused. And so it went on and on. We were cooking, you know, dope together. And my 16th birthday, we were cooking dope. He had a big, huge shop. Could put 8 cars in there. And his, after 3 days of being on it, he would go in rages. And he got into a rage, and he ended up beating me really bad. And the brainwashing, there was a lot of brainwashing that went on. He told me I was a whore. He told me I was trying to show myself off. If I had a t-shirt on like you can see here, if you lift my arm up, he said I was trying to show my body. If the blinds had a little turn in it, I was trying to show myself. So he had brainwashed me and tore me down to nothing. And I was so messed up on drugs, I was just this tiny little bone. I literally walked by a mirror one day and I couldn't recognize my face. I could not recognize the person I was looking at. And so the first bad time, my birthday, back to my birthday, we had been cooking and he had been up all night, and I don't remember what started the fight, but it got so bad, he ended up stomping my head into the concrete, and he busted out a welding torch. And he got a metal rod, and he melted the end of this welding torch and made me pull my pants down and stuck it between my legs. The scar on my arm is from a welding torch. He stuck me with that, burned me several times, stomped my head into the ground. This is my 16th birthday. Time I was supposed to be learning to drive a car and having fun with my friends and, you know, the good things. But instead I was being beat. And it just kept getting worse and worse. I don't remember a lot of it because I was so messed up, but I do remember one of the times my mom was there. And my mom really didn't know what was going on, but I got her started on meth. And she loved it. She had never done drugs before in her life. She never even had a ticket. I tried to get her to smoke weed before, and she would freak out. So my mom had never done drugs with me. She just hung out with me. Well, I got her to do meth, and she loved it. I was 15. She was downstairs when she got started, and she was downstairs, and we had a pool table down there. Me and him got arguing. Somehow got upstairs. Mama didn't know we were fighting. She was down there playing pool, thought we were upstairs. And he had a gun to my head while my mom was downstairs. And he knocked my tooth out. So I have a fake tooth because of him. He took and paid it for it. You know, I'm so sorry. I'm never going to beat you again. It was always that over and over and over again. And I got away from him around Christmas. And I was so out of it on drugs that I just couldn't understand why it was so bad. Like, what he was doing to me so bad. Like, I thought I was just taking a little break, and I was going to go back and everything's going to be okay. So I went to Georgia with my mom, stayed with my mom. My eye had a blood that was like solid red where I'd been beaten, and vessel blood busted. And I went back to him. This after he busted my tooth out. How I got away from him was he had company. We'd already been fighting, and he'd already been making things he was going to kill me. And he held up a bottle of heat, which is what we use to make drugs with and also goes in cars. And he said, I'm going to pour this bottle of this on you, and I'm going to set you on fire. And he had company there. And I was like, he will keep him long enough for me to get away. because he wouldn't do anything in front of anybody. He was doing this coming into the office and telling me this stuff. So I was going to sneak out, pretend like everything was okay. I was going to go get something to drink at the house or, sneak out. And I went to every single car because he had all kind of cars. He had a junkyard and he had a shop. He worked on vehicles and stuff. So all these cars were sitting out there with keys in them. So I run and jumped in every car and everybody was dead except for stick shift. I had no idea how to drive stick shift. But I got that son of a gun out there. Mm-hmm. And I was going second gear. 70 miles an hour. And I'm on the curvy road through Goveville. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, engine's about to blow up. And I'm coming around a curve and I look up in the rearview mirror and I'm so high on drugs, y'all. I didn't even register that I'm going fast. And I see the rearview mirror and I'm like, there's a tractor behind me going 70 miles an hour. Then I'm like, a tractor? So I look back up and it's him on a Banshee four-wheeler. He has come after me. And I start spinning out of control and bash up into a tree and got out of the vehicle before it ever stopped and was trying to jump into the next car that was coming down the road because I was fearing for my life.
Right.
So I got away from him, got in my right mind, and I go right back to him. So I go back, take several more beatings. Then I finally get away. And my mama, because she was on drugs, we were both very naive. He started telling me, I'm fixing to go to prison for a long time. Come see me. This will be the last time you'll ever see me again, all this stuff. We'll go spend some time together somewhere. We'll go get a cabin together and just, we'll spend some time together. And I'm just gullible because I'm 16 years old and I'm stupid.
Yeah.
And on drugs. So I go with him. And my mama's like, I'm going to go with you and make sure you're going to be all right. So we go to Helen, Georgia. Everything's all great and wonderful. We're having a great time, all high, meth. And he wants to go to Walmart. So he wants me to go with him. And my mama didn't say any more for that. He kidnapped me, took me all up the United States, beat me, hog-tied me, stabbed me with needle pliers, just torture me, shoving me full of drugs. To the point I'm about to pass out. And it had to have been God because it couldn't have been anybody else. I wasn't even seeking God then. God was so far away from me then, and I just, Mm-hmm. But I started my period. And I told him I needed some pads. I needed something, And he didn't want to go in the store for me.
Right.
So when I get in the store, I'm bloodied and bruised. Got sunglasses on, my eyes are black. My hair is caked in blood. Mm-hmm. I've been stabbed. I've been, cut from this side. He took a knife and just cut me all the way. I've been cut in the eye. I've got a scar on my eye. He would just hit me while we're going down the road. He would give me the phone to call my mama and let me talk just long enough to scare the heck out of her, hang up the phone. And he would terrorize my whole family like that. He just kept, I didn't know this, but my daddy and the boyfriend that I was telling you I moved in with, they had went hunting for me. And they had went acting like they were the police, went busted up in his house and all kinds of stuff hunting me. Mm-hmm. And my daddy had been trying to get me out of the situation. He didn't know how serious it was, but he had a feeling. He'd already sent the police to get me one time, and he was so upset because he was scared I was going to hate him for that, and I thanked him for it. He didn't know why. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he takes off with me. We're going, and I get in the store. I've started my period, and he's going to let me go in the store without him because he didn't want to go to get no pads. So I get in the store, and it's a line, and I'm standing there, and I said, help me. Please help me. I need help. I couldn't talk loud. I was just trying to get some help. And I turn around, and he's behind me. And I take off running behind the counter, and the guy behind the counter runs me away. He shoos me out of the store. I run across the street. I was so high on drugs, I was like a chicken with my head cut off. I could not even function to even dial a phone number. I just could not. I run across the street, and I wish to God I could go meet these people and talk to these people and tell them thank you, because I went to a shop, and they're like, we're going to protect you. He was driving a Mustang with loud pipes on it. So every loud pipes I heard, I thought was him. So I was just in complete panic mode. And he comes pulling up and pulls on the side of the road and tries to run in there and grab me. And a guy gets up in his chest, and because he didn't like to hit men, he was terrified of men, and I found that out later. But if I'd ever hit him, I don't think he'd ever hit me back, because the only time I ever hit him, he stopped hitting me. Right. But I never had enough sense. But anyway, so the guy, he protected me, and I got a hold of my mama. They sent me to the hospital. Fire department checked me out. I had a broke nose, all that stuff, and they put me in the room. And these people, they were angels. They were sent to me because they took care of me. They watched over me in that room. They brought me pizza. They stood outside that door to make sure he wasn't going to come after me. Well, when my mama gets there, because she had been so upset, she was dehydrated, they had to I couldn't even get out of the hospital because they had to turn around and put her into the hospital. Right. Because she was dehydrated. So they put her in the hospital. I'm like, you need to hurry up. I'm ready to get out of here. Like, you know. So my mom was with a friend of hers. And we were in this big old strudel van. And Mama gets in the car and she goes to sleep. And I'm still kind of jacked up on the meth. And so I get in the car. And her friend's like, I don't think we need to go home. I think we should go to Myrtle Beach and go spend some time in Myrtle Beach. But what she didn't know was that was our plan. And I was afraid that's where he was going to go. But I also thought that if he knew that I knew that's where he was going, that he wasn't going to be there. But then I also thought that if he thought that I was going to be there, that I would thought he wasn't going to be there. So my mind was just all over the place. And we get there, and it's bike week. And all these loud pipes are everywhere. Right. My face was swollen. My eyes were closed. I couldn't even see. My head was matted with blood. And I finally got away from him. And he's been in prison ever since. And he keeps coming up for parole. But I'm not the only person. There's another girl. She got even worse than I did. And she still has lots and lots of trauma and still terrified of him. But that's kind of where my drug journey began. And after that, I got off meth when I was about... I got pregnant with my son. So it was right before I got pregnant with him, because after I tried to do meth after that, I did it a few times, and then I was like, I'm done with that. I started smoking pot, and I was like, you know, this is all I need in my life. And then I would go hang out with some of my friends that did it, and I would try it, and I'd get deathly ill. I would puke my guts out. And I'm like, oh, maybe I just was having a bad time. So we went to a different time. I tried it again, and I puked, and I puked, and I puked, and I puked. And I'm like, thank you, God, for taking care of this for me. Because I might have, you know, because right now I can stand firm on it and say, I will never, ever put that stuff in my body again. Yeah. But I didn't stop drugs then. I went to pills again. Got on pills, started getting the pills, and I started getting them from my doctor because, you know, I had mental issues and bipolar and all that stuff. So it kind of went from one to the other, and, you know, it just got tossed around. And up until about 6 years ago, I mean, everything. I won't even take a Tylenol. Right. So that's where I got in. There's lots of people out there that are looking for relief because they have mental issues. My community is mental health. I have lots of mental health people that are friends with me, and they turn to alcohol, they turn to pills, they turn to addiction for relief. And, you know, I've been around so many people that think drug addicts are bad people because, you know, they're bad people and they've had and I had never done crack or ever been a crackhead or any of that stuff, and I had gotten an ugly perception of that, like, I would never do that kind of stuff. And then I, you know, got to be with the community of women who had dealt with that kind of stuff and losing their kids and things like that, and just really learned that people are hurting.
That's where
they have lots of pain. They have lots of trauma. They have lots of things that goes on, and they try to cope. And it turns them into a bad person.
Well, it makes them make bad choices,
Yes.
which people perceive them as being bad people. What I have found in talking to, people that I have talked to that have substance abuse issues or, issues in general, that everything starts with something. Most people are self-medicating themselves to deal with something that is just a little bit bigger than themselves. And it doesn't take too long for the thing that they are trying to use to help them ends up hurting them and destroying their lives.
Yep.
And all it takes is one time.
Yeah. And that's how the meth was. At first it was fun. And then you had to wake up and do it to function.
Right.
And that's how everything started. The pills, anything. You start to have a good time. It feels good. You're happy. You have a personality. A lot of people aren't even open, like they can't talk to people, and they drink or they do drugs because they are a more open person and they can talk to people and have, conversations. And I just feel like it's just sad how they're so misunderstood. I think the drug addicts and the mental health community kind of go hand in hand.
They do. I think there's such a shortfall of mental health. People are not getting their mental health needs met, so they are turning to cheaper ways in order to self-medicate to help them function in life. And if they had those mental health services available to them, they never would have got substance abuse issues. They never would have got in criminal issues.
And the taboo-ness behind mental illness. So many people don't want to speak about it because, they'll be looked at a certain way. Or it's the same thing with the Christian community. Right. It's one reason why I stepped away from the church is because mental illness is looked at as a sin. You have anxiety because you have fear and you have worry. My anxiety comes from nothing. I can literally be sitting there and my heart starts pounding. I cannot eat. I cannot sleep for no reason. Now, there are things that trigger my anxiety, but there are things that literally no reason I will have a panic attack over. And I have no control over that.
No, that's
but they think you
thing.
do. If you're not healed, you're not praying to Jesus. Or if you're not healed, but through me speaking out against my mental illness and against all my abuse and speaking out all that stuff, of course, it's kind of frowned upon to speak out loud. You're supposed to keep that stuff secret. But because I have shared so much, I've been able to help other people.
Right.
And people are like, well, I didn't think you could be a Christian and do marijuana. I'm like, God made that plant. He did not make those Xanax that you're taking that I was abusing, that I had a problem with, and I could not raise my children on that. But I would be put under the jail if they found a plant in my house.
Right. So your advocacy work that you have started, how much have you found the fear of, people in the shadows medicating with our plant that helps us in cannabis? How many people have you seen had this fear about having their children removed or being shunned by their community in some shape, form, or fashion? How many of those people do you think would be better off if it was more accepted in our society?
That's a big question because since stepping out, Marty calls it the proverbial closet. Since stepping out about my advocacy, I've had so many people come forward. They're in this closet because they're terrified of losing their children.
Right.
I mean, just this past week, I had DHS called on me, and it was, of course, a bogus thing because somebody was mad They called and said that I was on crystal meth, which I'd done many years ago, but I have not done since I've had any children. I swear on them. Oh, if you had a Bible, I'll swear on it. But I got accused of doing meth, dropping my kids off at a meth head. I've never been in trouble. I've never had any kind of problems with the law. I've never even had a ticket. But yet, they were able to come into my home, which caused me lots of trauma because I have PTSD and bipolar, and I've had to deal with lots of stuff. And them also accusing me of being on meth. I mean, it enraged me.
Right.
But that's the why people don't want to step out, because they're afraid they're going to lose what they have because of a plant.
Right.
So it has, that's another reason. I'm glad that I did come out, and I wish, the only regret I have is not doing it sooner. Because the mamas that have come forward, people I would have never believed, never thought in a million years, have come forward.
Right. Because you, in your story, in your advocacy, have given them strength to come out and say, I have problems, I needed help, this has helped me too. Absolutely. Well, in closing, what do you want to tell those women that are mamas, those people out there struggling with different issues? What do you want to tell them?
Well, I think they need to get in contact with RAMP. We have Alabama RAMP on Facebook. They need to get in contact with us. Get in contact with me. Friend me on Facebook. I will get you in your group where you need to get. We've got to stand up, because while we're keeping quiet, it's going to pass us by. It's going to take the people that are in their closets and afraid to stand up, and we can do this anonymously. I need the stories. We need the stories. We need the testimonies. We need the stuff. We have all the research. We have everything at our fingertips. But the stories, that's what's going to get it. The people who are going to step out and say, I've been doing this, and I'm not, you know, do I look like a bad person? And we're doing interviews. That's one thing we're going to start doing, and we just did one last week. They're going to be Canna Talk, and it's going to be interviews of people in the industry, testimonies, you know, just anything about cannabis. And we had we had Gerald last week who told us he is an ex-cop, and he has found relief using cannabis. And he was an alcoholic trying to find relief with alcohol. And that's all he wanted was relief. And I'm finding that more and more with people with pain. There's so many alcoholics out there because they are in pain.
Right.
And so we need the people that are in pain, that maybe you're not for cannabis, or maybe you've never did cannabis. Maybe you just want to support those people to have a choice. But we need everybody to band together. That's what it's going to take, us all standing up in Alabama.
And two, you know, when you're suffering from depression and anxiety and in your own personal demons that you fight every single day, one thing I have found that helps me personally is to get out of yourself and actually help other people.
Yes.
Stand up for those that cannot stand up, because they are in fear, because they're afraid to lose their children. Stand up for people who don't have a voice. Get out there, get your voice heard, and try to help those who can't help themselves. Until next time, this has been Stormy Bishop. And y'all stay safe out there, y'all, and try to look out for each other and help and just say a kind word, because we're all in this together. Take care.